Narendra Modi to chair NITI Aayog's Governing Council meeting today. Issues related to agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing and human resource development to be discussed. Tenth round of Corps Commander talks to be held at Moldo on the Chinese side this morning to discuss pullback from other friction areas. Disengagement along Pangong Lake complete. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar embarking on a 4-day visit to the Maldives and Mauritius. Review of bilateral ties and development cooperation high on the agenda. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan appeals to frontline and health workers to get vaccinated. Urges them not to pay heed to rumours. India crosses a landmark milestone in the vaccinations. More than 1 crore vaccine doses administered till February 19th. National Award-winning Odiya filmmaker Neela Madhav Panda's Kalira Atita enters race for Oscars. It is nominated in general category for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director. In sports, Medvedev marches into his first Australian Open final, beats Tsitsipas in women's singles. Naomi Osaka and Jennifer Brady will battle out for the Australian Open trophy today. Good morning, you're watching DD India and I'm Preeti presenting this bulletin. In the next half an hour, we'll get in front of everything that's been making it to the headlines. Our top story first. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair the 6th meeting of the Governing Council of NITI Aayog via video conferencing today. The agenda of the meeting includes deliberations on agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, human resource development, service delivery at grassroots level and also health and nutrition. The 6th meeting will witness the entry of Ladakh for the first time, in addition to the participation of Jammu and Kashmir as a union territory. This time, other union territories headed by administrators have also been invited to join in. The meeting will also be attended by ex-officio members of the Governing Council, union ministers, vice chairman, members and CEO of NITI Aayog and other senior officials of the Government of India. Also, the Governing Council presents a platform to discuss intersectoral, interdepartmental and federal issues. It comprises of the Prime Minister, Chief Ministers of states and union territories with legislatures and Lieutenant Governors of other union territories. All right, to get us more on that, our correspondent Arun Sharma is joining us. Arun, good morning. We tell our viewers that today the Prime Minister will be chairing the 6th meeting of the Governing Council of NITI Aayog. Very quickly, let us first know the issues which are to be taken up as part of the agenda.
Good morning, Preeti. Well, deliberations will happen in 6 sectors primarily. Number 1, agriculture, manufacturing, infrastructure, service delivery, human resources and skill development, and the health and nutrition part. We know this fact that this is the 6th meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi as far as the Governor Council meeting is concerned. But in this new decade, this is the first meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And apart from this new decade, this is also primarily in a post-COVID or in post-pandemic world. This is the first meeting, by Prime Minister Narendra Modi as far as Governing Council meet is concerned, whereby the chief ministers of various states and UTs will be present along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So, idea is that how can the cooperative federalism can be strengthened. Second important aspect is that we know this fact that various announcements were made, during the COVID pandemic times in last 8 to 9 months. And as far as budget is concerned, budget has, laid a wide roadmap for this 6 sectors, particularly agriculture, infrastructure and manufacturing. Now, the center primarily understands this fact that if in case job creation has to be done, if in case a high growth rate has to be achieved, more spending has to be done as far as infrastructure and manufacturing sectors are concerned. And of course, health infrastructure needs to be upgraded and modernized. And what more needs to be done on that part? all this will be discussed. And it is very important, the role of the state and the center. So the idea is that the states will come out with the challenges, the opportunities primarily. What are they expecting from center as far as, various announcements that were made during the budget and of course in the post-COVID pandemic time, or what are the options they're looking forward. Most of the states, as of now are struggling, even today struggling for achieving the high growth rate, in particular in their respective state. So how can all these be sorted out? So all this will be discussed, interdepartmental discussions will be held, intersectoral meeting or discussions will be held, so that whatever announcements were made by the center during the pandemic time and the budget time and during the budget, that can be fast-tracked and high development or high and inclusive growth rate can be achieved. Preeti?
All right, Tarun. Also, we tell our viewers that it will be for the first time that Ladakh will be participating, in addition to the participation of Jammu and Kashmir as the Union Territory. Talk more about it also.
We know this fact that, after the abrogation of Article 370, now this is for the first time that Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, I mean, this newly born, the UTs primarily will also be having their representation as far as this governing council meet is concerned. So what is the aspirations of this this new states, the UTs primarily? What do they expect as far as developmental aspect is concerned? Because the center has widely put a roadmap for the development. And as I mentioned earlier, that this is going to be the first meeting in this entire new decade as well. So, the discussions will be held as far as the center and states are concerned. As far as infrastructure is concerned, government has already announced this fact that 100 lakh crore will be spent in various infrastructure projects. That includes energy projects, that includes highways, roads and highways, that also includes health infrastructure. But what is the demand of various states? If in case there is a deficit, or if in case there is requirement for more revenue, how can center compensate in that aspect? How can state and center work together in some of the stuck projects that are already stuck? We also know this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi also reviews various infrastructure projects during the Pragati meeting. And in last 6.5 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reviewed projects worth more than 30 lakh crore of infrastructure projects that were not being executed. So, all these discussions will be held so that agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, these three prominent sectors primarily get much focus upon, and center and states can work together in order to give a major push in these prominent sector. We know this fact that during the COVID pandemic time, it was the only agriculture sector which showed the positive growth rate. So how can that growth rate in agriculture be continued and sustained? And we know this fact that recently the new farm laws were introduced. So how can these farm laws can give a major push to the agriculture sector? So on the other side, the cause of concern primarily remains the manufacturing sector. So how can manufacturing be given a major push? How can, the way the government is, inviting more and more companies to invest in India, and of course, the Make in India initiative is being given a major push. So how can states and center, they both can coordinate so that all these sectors primarily can be given a major push? So that is what the idea is to discuss. The more and more interdepartmental discussions will happen, more and more discussions will be held. So whatever are the bottlenecks, challenges and interdepartmental concerns, that can be sorted out on this platform.
All right, so agriculture, infrastructure and manufacturing are the sectors which will be in focus apart from other discussions. Thank you so much, Arun, for joining us with those inputs. We'll come back to you again during the day to get more once the meeting begins. Let's get to other news now. India and China will hold the 10th round of core commander talks today. The talks will be held at Moldo on the Chinese side of the LAC. Discussions are likely to be held on disengagement at friction points of Gogra and Hot Springs. Meanwhile, disengagement on both the banks of the Pangong Lake has been completed. Both sides pulled back troops, tanks and other equipment from the banks of Pangong So, which became a flashpoint in the prolonged border dispute. Also, it may be recalled that last week, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh informed the Parliament that both sides had agreed to pull back troops in a phased, coordinated and verified manner around Pangong So. We'll also get you this detailed report.
The disengagement process between India and China in eastern Ladakh has been completed at Pangong So. After this pullback from both sides, India and China will discuss disengagement from other friction points. The 10th round of talks between military commanders of India and China will be held at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Discussions are likely to be held on disengagement at friction points of Gogra, Hot Springs and Depsang. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had announced in the Parliament that the 10th round of talks would be held within 48 hours of the disengagement being completed on the north and south banks of Pangong Tso.
चीन के साथ पैंगोंग लेक के नॉर्थ एवं साउथ बैंक पर डिसएंगेजमेंट का समझौता हो गया है और इस बात पर भी सभापति महोदय पैंगोंग लेक से पूर्ण डिसएंगेजमेंट के 48 आवर्स के अंदर सीनियर कमांडर स्तर की बातचीत हो तथा बाकी बचे हुए मुद्दों पर भी हल निकाला जाए.
Significantly, after the 9-month-old deadlock in eastern Ladakh, the forces of the two countries had agreed to withdraw troops from Pangong Tso lakefront. Under this agreement, the forces will go back to pre-April 2020 positions. According to the agreement, India and China to move back to traditional bases along the LAC in a phased manner, Chinese troops to relocate to the east of Finger 8, Indian Army will remain in its permanent base near Finger 3, construction done by both sides since April 2020 will be removed, moratorium on patrolling on the northern bank of Pangong Tso, patrolling to resume after diplomatic and military level talks.
मैं इस सदन को पुनः आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि इस बातचीत में हमने कुछ भी खोया नहीं. मैं सदन को यह भी जानकारी देना चाहता हूं कि अभी भी एलएसी पर डिप्लॉयमेंट तथा पेट्रोलिंग के बारे में कुछ आउटस्टैंडिंग इश्यूज बचे हैं. इन पर हमारा ध्यान आगे की बातचीत में रहेगा.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had told the Parliament on 11th of February, that is a day after the disengagement process had begun, that the disengagement between Indian and Chinese armies would take place in a phased, coordinated and verifiable manner. And now the first phase of disengagement is over, in which the Indian and PLA armies both withdrew their tanks, armoured and mechanized forces. Also the troops have been withdrawn from the north and south banks of Pangong Tso. The Indian army has moved to the west of Finger 4 and the Chinese army to the east of Finger 8. There is a temporary halt to patrolling between Finger 4 to Finger 8. The Indian Army had earlier released videos and photos showing thinning down of troops and dismantling of bunkers, camps by the Chinese military in the areas around Pangong Tso Lake in eastern Ladakh, in line with the agreed disengagement process between the two sides. The visuals also showed the Chinese PLA using a bulldozer to flatten some structures and vehicles with troops and equipment preparing to retreat to rear bases as part of the infantry disengagement. The government had also made it clear that India had not lost any of its land under the agreement. In contrast, India has thwarted a unilateral attempt to change the current situation. Earlier on Friday morning, China for the first time admitted to casualties during the Galwan Valley clash with the Indian troops. 20 soldiers of the Indian Army were martyred in this standoff, but China had not informed about the killing of its soldiers then. Chinese media reported that the Central Military Commission has revealed the names of officers and soldiers killed in the Galwan Valley in June last year.
इसलिए अब उन्होंने पहली बार मेरे विचार से हिस्ट्री में काफी समय के बाद में चीन ने अपनी कैजुअलिटीज कबूल की हैं कि जो इंटरनल प्रेशर है वो भी ऊपर से बढ़ रहा है. धीरे धीरे आप देखेंगे कि और बातें निकल के सामने आएंगी. तास जो एक रूस की एजेंसी है उसने बताया कि 45 आदमी उनके मर चुके हैं गलवान के दौरान, और बाकी कुछ और एजेंसीज ने इससे भी ज्यादा कैजुअलिटी की खबर बताई थी.
China's confession comes at a time when Russia's official news agency TASS recently reported that 45 Chinese military personnel were killed in the clash in the Galwan Valley. In New Delhi, this is Nandita Dagar for DD India.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will today leave on a 4-day visit to Maldives and Mauritius. On the first leg of his visit, the External Affairs Minister will visit Maldives. During his visit to the Maldives, Dr. Jaishankar will call on President Ibrahim Mohammed Solih and have substantive discussions with the ministers for foreign affairs, defence, finance, economic development and planning and infrastructure. Dr. Jaishankar will also review the entire gamut of bilateral ties as well as progress of the ongoing bilateral projects, and also hold discussions on the ongoing COVID situation, including India's continued assistance to Maldives for its post-COVID economic recovery.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will be on a 3-day visit to Indian Ocean region countries, Maldives and Mauritius, starting from tomorrow. India has been one of the key assistance providers to Maldives, and in recent times during COVID pandemic, India has provided Maldives with $250 million of assistance to ease corona pandemic pressure. India has also gifted Maldives a consignment of corona vaccine.
Also, during his visit to Mauritius on 22nd and 23rd of February, the External Affairs Minister will call on President Prithviraj Singh Rupoon and also Prime Minister Pravin Jugnauth. The minister will also meet his counterpart, the Minister of Foreign Affairs there. During his visit, the External Affairs Minister will also review the ongoing implementation of various infrastructure projects being carried out by India in Mauritius and also hold discussions on bilateral, regional and global issues of mutual interest, including India's assistance to Mauritius. Both Maldives and Mauritius are India's key maritime neighbors in the Indian Ocean region and occupy a special place in Prime Minister's vision of Sagar or security and growth for all in the region. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has reiterated that COVID-19 vaccines are safe and appealed to all the nurses, Anganwadi workers and all other healthcare and frontline workers to come forward to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Rejecting misinformation, rumors and negative messages about COVID-19 vaccination, he asserted that there are some vested campaigns that are not founded on facts and urged people not to fall prey to these.
अपील के माध्यम से उन सब से ये कहना चाहते हैं कि जिन भी हमारे हेल्थ वर्कर्स और फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स ने अपना वैक्सीनेशन अभी तक नहीं लिया है, ये पूरी तरह से सेफ है। हम किसी भी प्रकार के मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन, र्यूमर्स या नेगेटिव मैसेज का शिकार ना हो और ये सुनिश्चित करें कि हमें ये वैक्सीनेशन जो समय सीमा निश्चित की गई है उसमें मिल जाए।
Union Health Minister also said that the nation will remain indebted to healthcare and frontline workers for their contribution. He added that vaccines are safe and they fulfill all the criteria of immunogenicity.
अभी तक ये पूरी तरह से सिद्ध हो गया है कि जो ड्रग कंट्रोलर ने अप्रूवल दिया 2 कोविड वैक्सीन्स को, वो 1 करोड़ से ज़्यादा डोजेस देश के लोगों को लग चुकी हैं। और मैं फिर से दोहराना चाहता हूं कि ये पूरी तरह से सेफ भी हैं और इम्यूनोजेनिसिटी के पैरामीटर्स पर भी खरी उतरती हैं। मेरा आज के इस अवसर पर उन सब मेडिकल प्रोफेशनल्स से, डॉक्टर्स से, नर्सेज थे, पैरामेडिक्स से, फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स से जिन्होंने सर्वेलेंस में काम किया, कंटेनमेंट जोन्स में काम किया, जिन्होंने अपनी लाइफ को खतरे में डाला, सबसे ज़्यादा जिनको रिस्क था कोविड के खिलाफ अस्पताल में लड़ाई को लड़ने में, प्रोफेशनल ड्यूटीज़ को निभाते हुए, और जिनको इस वैक्सीनेशन के लिए सबसे आगे प्रायोरिटाइज किया गया था, और जो बहुत बड़ी संख्या के अंदर हमारे हेल्थ वर्कर्स हम सबके प्राणों की रक्षा करते हुए अपने प्राण भी जिन्होंने गंवाए, ऐसे हेल्थ वर्कर्स के प्रति पूरा देश कृतज्ञ है। वी आर ग्रेटफुल टू देम ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द नेशन।
Up next, let's get to an update on the vaccination program. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered to healthcare and frontline workers has reached 1.04 crore on Friday in the country. 1 crore 4,49,942 vaccine doses were given through 2,20,877 sessions as per the provisional report till Friday 6 p.m. Now, these include 62,95,903 healthcare workers who have taken the first dose and 7,56,942 healthcare workers who have taken the second dose, along with 33,97,097 frontline workers who've taken the first dose. While the countrywide vaccination drive was rolled out on 16th of January this year, vaccination of the frontline workers started from 2nd this month. A total of 6,58,674 vaccinations were administered on 18th of January. Rather, I beg your pardon, that was 18th of February, and this constitutes the highest single-day vaccinations during the ongoing COVID-19 vaccination drive. 10 states that recorded the highest number of vaccinations are Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Jammu and Kashmir, Kerala, Odisha, Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh. Up next, we'll take a quick look at the COVID-19 situation from across the country. COVID-19 recovery rate in the country has touched 97.3%. 1,667,741 people have recovered from the virus so far. India's total active caseload presently stands at 1.39 lakh. The active caseload now consists of just 1.27% of the country's total positive cases. All right, let's get to some good news from the world of entertainment now. Indian regional language film in Odiya, Kalira Atita has made its entry into the Oscar race in general category for Best Picture, Best Director and many other categories. The movie has been made by national award-winning filmmaker hailing from Odisha, Neela Madha Panda. And up next, we'll take a quick look at the global update on COVID-19 situation. When we talk of the situation across the world, more than 11 crore 11 lakh COVID-19 cases have been reported worldwide. Global death toll due to the virus has crossed 24 lakh and stands at over 24 lakh 62,000. Over 8 crore 60 lakh people have recovered from the virus. The United States continues to remain the worst hit country by the pandemic, reporting over 2 crore 85 lakh cases of the virus, with death toll surging past 5 lakh 7,000. Brazil follows US in terms of death toll with 2 lakh 44,000 deaths. US President Joe Biden has expressed confidence that the United States will exceed its goal of delivering 100 million vaccine doses in the first 100 days of his term in office. Biden has also allayed the fear among Americans regarding the safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccine. Despite being optimistic, Biden also said that with new strains of the virus emerging, he could not commit to exactly when life would return to normal. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Friday called on the developed world to share COVID vaccinations with poorer countries, warning that failure to do so could come back to haunt them. Guterres said that 75% of the vaccines distributed so far have been shared amongst 10 countries, describing the present situation as chaotic. However, he added that several countries that announced that they would share excess vaccines and that the US had pledged its support to the World Health Organization's COVAX global vaccine sharing program. COVID-19 pandemic has swept across the globe, infecting over more than 11 crore people as of now. Leaders of the G7 group have vowed to boost supplies of COVID-19 vaccines to the developing world. At a virtual G7 meeting on Friday, hosted by UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, leaders increased their pledges to the WHO-led COVAX global vaccine initiative to $7.5 billion. The countries agreed to share surplus vaccines with developing world, and the US President Joe Biden, speaking at his first big international meeting as president, promised an extra $4 billion for the COVAX scheme, with $2 billion to be paid immediately. US President also reaffirmed his commitment to fighting climate change, creating what one official called a warm glow around the meeting and a renewed sense of optimism about multilateral cooperation. The United States officially rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement yesterday. The United States rejoins the Paris Climate Agreement as it reinvigorates the global fight against climate change. Biden administration plans drastic emission cuts over the next 3 decades. U.S. climate envoy John Kerry took part in virtual events on Friday to mark the U.S. re-entry. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that the United States will try to make up for the lost time due to Trump's withdrawal. Scientists and foreign diplomats have welcomed the U.S. return to the treaty, which became official 30 days after President Joe Biden ordered the move on his first day in office. Since nearly 200 countries signed the 2015 Pact to prevent catastrophic climate change, the United States has been the only country to exit. Then President Donald Trump took the step, claiming that climate action would cost too much. while Biden has promised to chart a path towards net zero US emissions by 2050. UN Secretary General Guterres welcomed the return of United States and said that as we mark the United States' re-entry into this treaty, we also recognize its restoration in its entirety and also its creators intended.
For the past 4 years, the absence of a key player created a gap in the Paris Agreement, a missing link that weakened the whole. So today, as we mark the United States' re-entry into this treaty, we also recognize its restoration in its entirety and its creators, as its creators intended. Welcome back.
All right, up next, we'll get to some sports news now. Russian fourth seed Daniil Medvedev beat Greece's Stefanos Tsitsipas to reach his first Australian Open final. Medvedev was clinical throughout the match and dismantled Tsitsipas in straight sets with the score reading 6-4, 6-2, 7-5 at the Rod Laver Arena. Medvedev will be facing Djokovic again on Sunday, with the latter vying for a 9th Australian Open title. And in the women's singles, Naomi Osaka continues her bid for a 4th Grand Slam title when she takes on American Jennifer Brady in the Australian Open women's final in Melbourne today. 3-time Grand Slam champion Osaka is currently enjoying a 20-match winning streak, with her last defeat coming on February 7th. This year, she sealed her place in today's showpiece with a straight sets victory over 7-time Australian Open winner Serena Williams. Brady came past Karolina Muchova to seal a spot in her first Grand Slam final. It will be a rematch of the 2020 US Open semi-final, which Osaka came through in 3 sets. That's it in this edition of the News Cesar. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.